Hello, good evening, Cheeseheads. Welcome to the Cheese Room podcast. I'm your host for the night, the caller, and I'm joined as ever from Austria by the Harlow Globetrotter. How are you tonight, HG? How are you feeling? Have you got over it yet, mate?
Very much so. Disappointing, yes, but not life-changingly disappointing because it's happened before. I know it's the final, but yeah, this is England. So I've seen that game before. So it wasn't too, especially as a Spurs fan, we've all been there before. So, I mean, to be disappointed again, I don't know, surely we all prepare ourselves for these events.
Mentally and psychologically, we can help. Being Spurs fans is awful, and we experience these things every season. So if you've been affected by this England loss, reach out. There is help out there. I think I put that on my Facebook status this morning. It raised a few giggles, to be fair. Firstly, good evening. If you're watching this on catch up, hello. We're not live, so don't bother putting anything in the live chat, but do leave us a comment. If we are watching live tonight, please consider using Super Chats, the ultimate way to support the podcast. And don't forget, the podcast is on all mediums. This is just the YouTube flavour. We also have our Spotify and Apple Music show, and all of the probably good platforms as well do it. And that's really good. And hopefully we're going to be talking more about Tottenham than England. We're not going to dwell on it too much. But do drop us your comments and your thoughts as we go through the show, and we'll get to them. And there's a comment coming in from HG straight away. Yeah, absolutely. Your sense of humour is wonderful, HG. You say you expected it. Was there a glimmer of hope after 2 minutes when Luke Shaw scored that goal?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, I went crazy like everyone else did when the goal went in, just as I did when Trippier scored in 2018 and we went 1-0 up, and I thought this might actually happen. You'd rather score than not, but there is always this thing of, isn't it? Could we not score with 2 minutes to go rather than 2 minutes gone? Don't get me wrong. It was a lovely goal. It was well taken. We all thought this was amazing. I don't think anyone really expected us to score so early. So, yeah, it was a good feeling when it happened. But, it's all forgotten now.
Sadly gone, but not forgotten. And it was Kane doing the hard work, wasn't it? In the midfield, spraying that ball out wide. And then I think it was Trippier, wasn't it, with the beautiful ball in, remind me why we sold that guy. He's a terrific striker of the ball. He picked out Luke Shaw coming in at the back post beautifully, didn't he?
He did, and he took a long time. I think we were all kind of thinking that the ball would come in quicker, but he waited for support. And so there were a couple of runners, I think it was Sterling and Mount, that kind of ran towards the near post, which took everyone away. And Luke Shaw was all by himself, and it was the perfect ball. Trippier, we know that what he's capable of and that he can do it, but it's just a shame it only happened the once.
Well, we're not going to dwell on England for too long. I'm just going to cover it very briefly, guys, and then we're going to talk all things Tottenham, transfers, tactics, Nuno, whatever you want to know. And you can chuck your questions to us this evening, and we will absolutely get to them. Firstly, England did so well to get to the final, didn't they, HG? What do you make? I mean, off the pitch, it was absolutely disgraceful, as I'm sure you'll agree, and everyone at the Cheese Room would agree. The Yobs ruined it for everyone else really yesterday at Wembley. But what do you make about these players being abused online? I mean, what's going on with the world?
People are angry and upset 24/7. No matter what it is, they find a reason to be upset. They find a reason to be annoyed. I don't care if it's local news, if it's national news. There's always something that they're reading that's making them angry. Whether it be, idiotic benefit cheats, which clearly don't happen very often, but that's what gets focused on. It's kind of to be expected. If you're being bombarded that somehow you are the bad guy, then you might react in that way. And I mean, there's no excuse for it. I don't know why the Brits drink the way they do. I don't know why they see it as a status symbol, a sign of manhood that you drink for 10 hours straight before a game. I find it crazy that people were almost upset that the game was being played so late because we all knew what was going to happen. And it doesn't happen anywhere else. Like, people get drunk, don't get me wrong. People get drunk here all the time. Austria drinks probably more per capita than England does, but they don't do it in the same way. And it's, I don't know, like I'm out of the UK for so long now that I can't really comment too much. I don't know what it's like, but it's not surprising for me. It's not surprising for a lot of the people that we talk to. and it's a massive shame because English football is not those people. Like they do not represent English football. The thousands that go and support, go and watch the games in the stadiums every week, they don't do anything like that. You know, you have 1 or 2 drinks with your mates before a game. Everyone's okay with that.
Yeah.
But the idea of it being a celebration and alcohol, and, you know, pubs were opening at 10, 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. And if the game was, and really, it's just, like
there were people queuing. I had some friends around. The scenes in the man cave last night, 2 minutes, were unbelievable. To be honest.
You had people queuing outside the man cave at 9
o'clock. No. So one of them had been in Northampton that morning, local town, and he said, you know, one of the pubs at 8 o'clock in the morning had a massive queue, people queuing up to get in. I don't know what time they were letting people get in, but it was ridiculous. People go nuts, don't they? And you saw the scenes in Leicester Square, just utterly. Just disgusting. And then you read about the racial abuse suffered by 3 England players for missing a penalty, and you just go, "What is going on?" You know, we want to talk about football. We want to talk about football.
Let's talk about football then, because like we stand pretty clear on what they're like. Like, we know that's not us. We know that it's awful. It's vile. They don't represent the normal person. It is a massive part of society, and that's the thing that we need to change. But we can't do it on a football podcast or vidcast or whatever this is. It's disgusting that it's seen as normal now, that it's seen okay that you can do this, that everyone has a voice and they share it in the way that they do, that things have to change so that doesn't happen. You're not going to stop people thinking it, but you can stop it being considered normal to think that way. It isn't, and it shouldn't be. And there really is no excuse.
Absolutely. So, HG, just on the penalty shootout before we move on to Tottenham.
Go
on. Dare I ask, is that what you'd have done?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because like I said in our little Patreon group before the game that I was trying to list our 5 penalty takers, and I had 4 down, and then the guy that misses is the 5th because I didn't know who that was going to be. But I had Rashford down to take one. I didn't think he'd miss. Sancho, I thought he had the technique to be okay. Granted, I didn't think he'd come on with 1 minute to go. So there are issues there, but deep down, it's technique, right? I mean, it's mentality. Like, Harry Maguire is not a penalty taker, yet he took the best penalty of everyone, right? But you look at Bonucci. Like, Bonucci tried the whole, stutter step, slow run up, but what he did was he kicked it in the top half of the goal. You can do the stutter step. I mean, to be fair, anything you do, if you try and get it in the top half of the goal and you succeed, the keeper can't save it. They're not going to save it that high. So to do the stutter step and then just, side foot it, you're asking for trouble. I mean, there are so many penalties where if the keeper goes the right way, he saves it because it's not been struck that well. I think Italy's first was a perfect example of that. Had Pickford dived to his right, he'd have saved it. This is England and penalties. To me, it's more of a technique thing than a mentality thing. You have to try and hit it in the top half of the goal. I think if Harry Maguire struck a ball like that, he might miss 2 out of 10, if I'm honest, because he didn't seem to put much thought into it. He just hammered it. But sometimes that works. I mean, I haven't really dwelt on it. It was one of those things that, when Italy missed that one and we were 2-1 up and we're like, okay, this might happen. Yeah. But you always knew that we had to take advantage of it. And when we didn't, you could sense everyone in the stadium was thinking, here we go again. And we still had Sancho and Saka to go. If you're going to go last, the pressure will almost certainly... Like, imagine Saka's thinking, Jorginho's not going to miss. And if Jorginho scores, I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And suddenly, 15 seconds later, he's got to worry about it. Those things will have gone through his mind, almost certainly. I didn't think Jorginho was going to miss. I certainly didn't think that Pickford was going to save it.
Yeah.
So we can talk about the penalties all day. And what I should say is that Italy were the better team for most of the game, if not all of the game. They were the best side in the tournament, and they're deserved winners. The fact that England even got it to penalties was rather fortunate. It's a shame that we didn't do better in the 2 hours of normal play, but no, it's I do think the right team won.
I think the issue, and a lot of people's issue with Southgate's management in general, I mean, if you take out the fact that, so I wouldn't have done that with the penalty shootout, I'll be really honest with you, because it was like he was playing Football Manager. So he did exactly what I do when I'm playing Football Manager. So I'm like, last minute of injury time, quick, I'm going to sub a right back, a left back, and bring 2 attacking players on who've got a better penalty rating. But that doesn't work in real life, does it? Because they've got to have a feel for the game, at least. Let them play for 5 to 10 minutes, get a touch of the ball, get their surroundings, get their confidence up. It's like, and you're throwing these, why is Kane at number 1 and not at number 4, for example?
I mean, Kane at number 1 makes sense. I'm fully
to
behind
that. To a degree it does. But when you're so short of good penalty takers, you could make the case for him at any point. Fact remains, I think he got it wrong. I think he got it wrong. And I think in terms of the game, and this is where I have a big issue with Southgate's tactics. We scored too early. We scored after 2 minutes, and then played like Tottenham. And the Tottenham fans watching this will absolutely know what we did under Mourinho all last season, get an early goal, and then sit back for 90 minutes, which I'm afraid when you're playing the absolute pinnacle of football just doesn't work, does it? And when push comes to shove, normally the better team wins. And we gave Italy the invitation to come at us and play rather than trying to force them on the back foot. And that's my issue with Southgate. I think we did great to get to the final. Don't get me wrong. I think he's done loads of stuff right, covered himself in glory with the things he said and building the team spirit. But very frustrating selection with the penalty kickers and very, very, very limited in terms of how much thought he puts into it tactically.
I mean, like I said it last night on Twitter, to me, England, and this is not meant as a slight, but to me, England are the Waitrose version of Northern Ireland. We're very defensive. We keep things tight. We look to try and get the odd goal to win games. And that's what Northern Ireland have to do to get the results that they get. I mean, they qualified for the Euros in 2016. They can beat anyone. I mean, we've all seen them. They beat the world champion Spain. Was it 10 years ago? I'm sure Rob Saville will love me for remembering that. But that's kind of how England have approached it. And to be fair, I think that's generally quite good. England aren't one of the top teams as far as I'm concerned. We haven't proven it on the biggest stage. The fact that Southgate's got England to a semi-final and a final in 2 goes and is suddenly basically the best manager we've had since Alf Ramsey when it comes to tournaments, it's a great sign that he's able to do it, but we have to be more than just that. And that might take time, and maybe he's not the right person to do it, but we are very defensive. We are reliant on a bit of individual something from Sterling's pace or Kane's ability, and it's only really the Ukraine game that we were able to take advantage, but that took a set piece to really break things open. We're good, but we're not there yet. We're not able. We have the players to play the way that Italy does, but we haven't really translated it yet, and we haven't found the right balance to do it. So, to get as close as we did to winning something, I mean, that's a fantastic achievement. But if we want to be semi-finals and finals more often, we need to be more than just defensively solid. I really do believe that. We've got the players to do it. Bellingham, Foden, they're all super young. Sancho. If those guys grow together, even in the 2026 World Cup, they're going to be mid-20s. We've got many years to get them playing together. The fact that Sancho's now at Man United will do the England team good because he's going to play with other England players. It's just a question of building that for a national team. Southgate's got everyone believing in the project of England. It sounds awful to say it like that, but the team spirit is clearly different than it has been in the past, and that has to be applauded. But when it comes to being on the pitch, we're still a little short.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. We've thrown everyone tonight, HG. There's several comments coming in with inverted. I feel it is a bit strange.
Should we switch it?
And I like that. No, we'll keep it as it is. I like the fact that Phil's, pointed out the new training gear. I was actually at the ground. I don't know if I've mentioned this on social media, Phil, but I was actually at the ground on Friday. Abseiled down from the stadium roof, had a walk around, touched the cockerel. So we will be lucky this season because I have touched Tottenham's golden cock. Absolutely. Moving on slightly.
It's not the only golden cock you've touched? I take it.
I touched the one at the old stadium as well.
Okay, fair enough.
See how I got myself out of that one? Slick. Looking at Tottenham, which is the team obviously we all love, and that's why we're all here. We've been very busy in the rumour market here at the Cheese Room, and I've scoured the web for the latest rumours, and we're going to sort of rate the rumours. And I think HG is going to cast his eye over it and tell me if it's bollocks or not, which I'm fairly confident he's going to say 90% of this probably is bollocks. So, firstly, we've got massive interest in centre-backs at the moment, as you may or may not be aware. But before I go into that, did you read Tottenham writer Alistair Gold? Did you read his little commentary this week about how Paratici does his transfer dealings, or shall I go? I'll explain it to you if you haven't.
Yeah, I mean, I think I got the gist of it. I didn't read the whole thing. I don't tend to read a lot of what Ali Gold puts, but I see the basic comes up in Twitter. Someone's Twitter feed shows me it. So something along the lines of that he sets up, lots of different options and then decides which one he actually wants.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
like going shopping for a night out. You go out. You're shopping for your shirt, aren't you? So
to be fair, caller, I thought you were going to talk about trying to find a woman.
No.
And you go out on a Friday night and there's four or five you got your eyes on, but you don't know how drunk they are. You don't know how drunk you are. Yeah. You don't know really which one you've got a shot with the most. Mm-hmm. To be fair, it does sound a lot like that, doesn't it? Kind of like, if I can go with this, if I can get this one, I will. But yeah, it's a long time ago for you and me, I'm sure. But it feels a lot like that. You're trying to set them all up and hope that one says yes.
Exactly right, and basically, guys, that's the summary of Ali's article. So Paratici apparently lines up lots of deals, and you'll hear lots of "this is close, this is close, this is close," and just as the climax is coming, they'll pull out. That not good.
Yeah. You said that, not me. You said that, not me.
The winner will be declared a new Tottenham player. So hence why my caution in all these names that we've got linked. So Kounde, so 52 million quid, I believe. I just can't see that. Can you, HG?
Jules Kounde, look.
Jules Kounde, yeah.
Even if we have the money to do this, which it's. I mean, yeah, possibly we do, possibly we don't. But even if we did, the very fact that he seems to be unsure about whether Tottenham should be his next club means that, we shouldn't be interested. I don't want to convince someone that Tottenham is the right place because if it turns out not to be that way, which let's face it, it easily could, he's going to want to leave within a year or two, and he might get better options to go somewhere else. And it just strikes me as being a game I don't want to be involved in. I understand he's highly rated. I know that there's a guy on Twitter who supports Spurs and Sevilla, and he's always saying what a good player he is.
Yeah.
I just think for that money, we don't have 300 million to spend. We could probably spend it a bit wiser. So for me, no. Even if Nuno wants him, even if he's a Mendy's client, which I don't think he is, but even if he was. It's no. It seems highly unlikely that we would spend that money and that he would want to join Spurs because if you look at Sevilla and Spurs right now, we could probably offer him more money, but that's about it. And I think he'll want more than that.
Well, the caveat with this one is apparently we've said we'll put up 53 million euros or whatever it is, but he says he wants to go to a Champions League club, so it's probably likely to be a non-starter. Takehiro Tomiyasu rumbles on.
Yeah.
18 million quid. It seems like one of those that's nearly done, and I was convinced he's coming before Ali put that story together. There he is. What's your thoughts on that? Apparently he's been playing right back this season. Do we need him right back?
He's played a lot of. I think he's played right back and centre back for Bologna. Look, I've talked about him before on these things. I think it's very likely that this could happen. We all know that Levy likes to buy players from countries that where we could gain millions of fans very easily, let's say. But to be fair, he is more than that. He is a very good player, and he's not being signed for those reasons. He came to Europe, spent a year in Belgian football, got a move to Serie A just based on that 1 year, and has been playing regularly in Serie A for 2 seasons. So for a guy who's 21, maybe almost 22, that's a pretty good pedigree, and Spurs would be the next step up. He was either going to join a big club in Italy, or a bigger club than Bologna in Italy, and yeah, if the Premier League is calling, he'll know the size of Spurs. He'll know all about Spurs. We are a perfect opportunity for him as well, especially considering that we seem to be changing, right backs and centre backs this summer. So he'll get a chance to not just, he won't be like Juan Foyt, right? When Foyt came, it was always, you're going to be 4th choice. You might get a few games here or there. Yeah, you're going to be 4th choice. And with Tomiyasu, I think it looks like he'll play a lot. And he'll be expected to be one of the main options at the back. So, yeah, I definitely think it's more of a Levy signing. I think it's more of a Spurs signing. And to be fair, I don't mind it. I quite like the idea of getting in players who can, if they work out, will be at the club for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Whilst you're watching tonight, we would greatly appreciate if you do like and subscribe to the show. Lots and lots of things coming in. The training wear sponsor deal is being looked at. Interesting one for you, HG. This will make you laugh. So I'm in the shop choosing my new Tottenham Threads training kit for this season, and the guy comes over and he's like, the first question he asked me was, "Do I need an XL?" Which I thought was, mildly insulting.
Well, and then he asked you that.
He asked me that.
Brilliant.
But I was browsing the smaller sizes, I believe, kidding myself. I could fit into one. I tried one on. It was literally like latex on me. It's awful. If you get that out, vision of beauty out of your head if you can. But he said, we're doing a deal today, half price. You can have your initials. Like the players have their initials. So I can have
Wow.
And I was like £5. Okay, that's not a bad idea. But then I thought, how much of a knob would you look?
It's one of those things. Yes, you would look like a knob, but maybe there'd be someone out there thinking, "Oh, he works for the club. He's got his initials underneath."
There you go.
I think the knobbish thing is would you add your middle name initial? Would you just be like?
Done that, by the way.
Huh?
That's a Brendanism, isn't it? A Brendan Rodgersism. Surely he's got his middle name on there.
Yeah, it's look, it's not something I would do, but yeah, if you want to look the part, then that would help you look the part, right? So,
CP Cheese Room Podcast.
Yeah, if anyone does this, please send us a picture. We'd love to see it, but it's not for me. I've never even had a name on the back of my shirt. I'm super old school. I'd be happy with just a number. In fact, my dream is to have the England 66 shirt with number 4 on the back. I don't want number 6. You can only get number 6. I want number 4. And so until I can get that, no team is going to get my extra money to get, Alderweireld at £3 a letter put on the back. No thanks.
I'm not sure they do it per letter now. I think it's you can have whatever you want. So, which for a measly fee of about £28,
Globetrotter would cost me a fortune, so it's probably a good idea.
Just go for HG, save yourself a few pennies. So I've just said in the chat, I was going to come to this at the end, but I'll come to it now. So Marco says, naming rights for the stadium is nearly done. The rumour is hopefully the money will go on transfers. I've got a bit of news. I picked up the same news report. The stadium rumour is it's been several times that the stadium rights have nearly been sold, isn't it? But we've got this guy in. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but there is a guy we've employed purely to get this deal across the line, because clearly Levy's not capable of doing that as much as he is running a football club. Hopefully the money will go on transfers. Marco, I've got news for you. That's very unlikely, I think. We owe about £1 billion in debt stack, and I have talked at length about the debt stack previously for people who like talking about numbers, but I can't imagine we'll be spending much of it on players, would we, HG?
Look, it's unlikely. It might happen. It's one of those things. I think the kit deal, the Nike kit deal, was kind of front loaded, so we got a lot of the money up front to help us pay with the stadium costs. The naming rights, look, I do think it's going to be a lot of money whenever it happens. And Mr. Klein, because his name is Todd Klein, the guy who's in charge of doing it.
Oh, don't you remember that? See,
I do remember that.
That is why you are the HG.
Pretty much. It's a low bar I have to clear, but I clear it quite well. Look, it's I don't know, but I think no Spurs fan is sitting there thinking this money will be used for transfers, because we know it's been over a decade now that what we bring in we can spend. When it comes to player transfers, there might be a little bit extra in the kitty. I'm sure there probably is, but we will go back to that model certainly until the stadium is fully up and running and we're getting NFL games and concerts in and everything. And despite the fact, I think it's next Monday in England that everything opens up. Yeah, like and until I see it, I won't believe it. And I think Levy will be the same. Levy won't want to. In his eyes, it will be jeopardizing the future of the club, even if we all know that they've got the money themselves to do it. But it's unlikely. So Marco, I love your optimism, but I don't think it will be used for transfers. Not really. We'll spend a fair bit. I don't doubt that, and we'll bring a fair bit in. But having sold Foyt, I think one other has gone. I can't remember who, but like there's close to 20. It's close to 20 million or whatever, and if that's spent on Tomiyasu, then great. Like we're getting rid of someone who didn't have a future at Spurs, didn't want to be at Spurs anymore. Not that I blame Foyt for that. and we're going to get someone in who does want to be there and who seems to be much more likely to be that centre back, right back hybrid that Foyt tried to, but never really got the opportunity to be for Spurs.
Yes, Foyt, who's left Spurs this season, has already won more silverware in his career than Harry Kane. So in terms of those first two, which one are you calling bullshit on, or both of them?
No, Kounde is bullshit. Tomiyasu, I think will happen, but Kounde, I just don't see it. I really don't.
Right, brace yourself. I love the internet. This is a good one. Get involved, Cheesehead. Send us a super chat on this. I want to see what you think. Isco for £6 million, according to the Daily Mail. Would you take him?
I think the key word there is according to the Daily Mail. For £6 million, absolutely. Isco's a quality player. Like I know he's not really shown it for Real Madrid for maybe 2 seasons now. He's not really been first choice, but even at 29 or whatever he is now, Isco, yes. The guy is absolute quality. He'll make the team better, and it's the type of signing that Kane will want to see come in. I mean, not that I expect Kane to sign a longer deal with us, but it's the type of thing that will get him energized. I think the other players will think, great, I'm playing with great players. Isco is a great player. There's no doubt about that. So even if he is at the Van der Vaart stage of his career, where he's leaving a super club to go somewhere else, for £6 million, you can't knock it. If Real Madrid are willing to let him go for that amount of money, I guess wages are the only key. But given the fact that Real want him gone, it's no different to Bale in that respect. If they're willing to pay half his wages, then we should be willing to do the same. Absolutely.
How much wage do you think Isco's on? He's not on Bale money, is he?
No, he's not on Bale money. But I mean, like Luka Jovic is on almost 400 grand a week. He's done nothing. So he's on very, very good money. There's no doubt about it. Probably more than Kane is. But like if we can pay half of that, then I'm all right with it. And again, it's kind of a role that we need. We don't have creativity in the side. Isco has that. That's his thing. He's the number 10 who could play all over the shop. He's quick. I love his beard. Like there are plenty of reasons to have Isco around, but. I don't see it as the short-term move that that we've been linked with a few others, like Pjanic. To me, Pjanic would be a no-go because he's a couple of years older. And I just don't see that we need him. But with Isco, yes, we need someone like that desperately.
Yeah. Pjanic, I disagree with you on Pjanic though. I think the opportunity is there to sign him for free. I don't think you're losing much. I know he's going to cost a bundle of wages, but he would be a great addition in terms of winning experience to the side, surely. I mean, he's better than frickin' Winks, isn't he?
Yes, he's definitely better than Winks, but like none of us really think Winks is going to play that much unless people are injured. And so with Pjanic, I think he'll want to play. Like when you've got Lo Celso and Ndombele, Sissoko's going to go, but if Skip comes in, Højbjerg, and we only play 2, then when does Pjanic play? Is he really suitable for the Premier League? There are so many questions that you just think for a guy who sits deep and likes to be a playmaker, that's a bit of a worry for me. Like, I know Isco's not played in the Premier League as well, but he's a different type of player. When Pedro left Barcelona to go to Chelsea, it was pretty much seamless for him. He was good enough to handle it. I think Isco is good enough to handle it. So given the two, yeah, Isco is the no-brainer for me.
Okay, so you're rating that. What you rating that one? Likely?
No, I don't think it's likely. I mean, I've said for a number of years, Spurs will buy the players that the big teams don't want, and that can mean someone like Kounde, who the big teams have decided no, we don't need him right now. That could mean a big team's deadwood, like Isco would be. But that's kind of where we are, and it used to be for financial reasons, whereas now I think it's just the state of the club. You know, we're in the Conference League. We're still not that attractive of a place unless it is. For a payday, really. But it's tough to see players who, if they're given the choice of playing for Chelsea or for playing for Spurs, that they would pick Spurs in that option, and that's awful. But that's where we are, and it's no different. I mean, I saw that today is the 9-year anniversary of when Vertonghen signed for Spurs. That summer and that transfer surprised me because although Spurs were good, we weren't at the level of Arsenal at that point. And for him to turn down Arsenal to
low bar these days, though, isn't it? Let's face it.
Look, I think right now it's a completely different question between those two teams. But at the time, Arsenal were a better club. They were a more established club than Spurs were. We'd had one good season pretty much where we'd got to the Champions League, but even that had been 12 months ago when he signed. So it's those type of deals. If we get players like that where we think, okay, we can still attract them, then great. But I still think deep down that 95% of the people we sign, we will be the best available option for them rather than a choice between us and someone who might be seen as being better or more established.
Okay. I'm sure the people just like to link me with the most difficult names to pronounce. But I'm going to have a go at some of these. And then you're going to laugh at me and tell me I've got it wrong and I'm an idiot, which is fine. So apparently West Ham have already had a £22 million bid turned down for Youssef En-Nesyri.
Okay.
Is that all right? Sevilla striker?
I think that's pretty good. I do know him. I'm about to type his name and I might spell it wrong. That's how little I know about him.
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Just,
I want to do it. There you go.
That's very good, actually.
En-Nesyri.
35 million gets him, apparently. And we're looking at him as a serious option because we need a backup striker. No,
don't see it. I mean, good striker. Don't get me wrong; he's a good striker, but and he's more proven in a top league than Vinicius was when he signed. But I just don't think that we'll be spending that amount of money on a striker this summer unless it's someone who is younger than En-Nesyri. I think En-Nesyri is maybe mid-20s, 26, 27.
He is mid-20s, yeah.
I don't know. It's like I could see it happening, but I don't think it would be for a permanent. I think Levy will be a lot tighter with his money, or with Spurs' money at this case, because it's just. I think that's where we want to be. Like we're going to be signing players that are younger. I believe that. Like if Nesri was 22, 23, I could see it happening, but not for 35 mil. That would still be if it was 25 mil and he was 23, I think Levy would do it. But 25, 26 and 35 mil, I don't see that happening. If Levy's watching, he can prove me wrong. That's fine. But it just strikes me. It's been 1 year, maybe 18 months at Seville. He's done really well there and scored a lot of goals for them. But it would be a gamble, a very big gamble. And I think for 35 mil, Levy won't want to take that gamble. He would rather do what he did with Vinicius and loan someone in, see what happens, and if it works out, then great, spend the money. But don't spend the money first.
Vinicius just sat on the bench most of last year, didn't he?
And that was a shame because at moments Vinicius showed he was a really good finisher. He showed that he played with his head more than anything else. He was very one-footed, but he never really got opportunities. And understandable when Kane doesn't get injured and we have a lot of important games. But that's what Levy will want to do. He would like to see someone come in on loan, I'm sure of it, and prove to be someone who could take maybe Kane's role long term. But I don't see En-Nesyri being that guy. I think En-Nesyri, anything, is more of a second striker. Like, so if you were going to play two up top, he would be there. I don't see him as a number 9. I don't see him as a focal point. It would be a massive gamble. And to be fair, like, if West Ham are interested in a striker, that's usually a good sign that they're rubbish.
It's a red flag.
West Ham don't sign good strikers.
It's a red flag. It's a red flag. And Greg says no way spending that when Ings might be available for a snip. Yeah, Danny Ings. I mean, we've not really heard much paper talk about it so far. I know Southampton was trying to give him a 4-year contract, mega money contract for Southampton, but he doesn't want to sign, does he? It looks likely that they'll either keep him for one season or cash in. Which do you think it's going to be, HG?
I think Southampton will keep him for a season. I think they should. I mean, if you look at the squad, where are the goals going to come from if they sell him? They have to buy someone who's going to hit the ground running, and I'm not sure they will. So if I'm Southampton, I'm keeping Ings. And Ings, this is the scary thing. Danny Ings comes from Winchester. He's basically a Southampton fan, local team, all the rest of it, and he's willing to run his contract down and try and get a chance to play somewhere else. If that doesn't make Spurs fans worried about Kane, I'm not sure what will. But it would be a great signing for Spurs, but I think Ings has probably got his sights set a little bit higher. And I think he's like,
I'm not liking the cut of your jib tonight, HG. You keep running us down.
It's just where we are. Like, Spurs are a massive club. Don't get me wrong, they're a massive club, but it's all about who you're competing with, right? Like if Tomiyasu wants to come to Spurs, it's not because Man United are interested in him, right? Like, if Man United were interested in him, he'd be going to Man United. I have no doubt about that. I think that the Spurs are a massive club, but it's all about who you're competing with. If we're competing with West Ham, like if En-Nesyri had West Ham or Spurs, I think he'd pick Spurs. I really do. Despite the fact that West Ham are in the Europa League and we're in the Conference League, I think that would be a no-brainer. You look at the stadium itself and you think, this is where I want to play. But I tried to be real about this. Like I was surprised when Eriksen signed his deal, the final deal he signed with us. I was surprised when Ndombele signed for Spurs. I guess that makes me a little bit negative when it comes to those things. But I just think I tried to put myself in the player's shoes. And for a player, they want to be paid, which they will do if Spurs are being interested in them. Like, whoever it is, they'll get money. They want to play, which under Pochettino, a lot of new signings never really got the chance. So that was a problem. And they want to win trophies, and Spurs haven't shown much history of that. So to me, that combination, if it works in Spurs' favour, then great. But in many cases, for the players we're looking at, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Well, I feel completely flattened now.
No. There are still good players out there. Absolutely. But it's about getting the right people in, people that understand, and that's why it's so important that you have a good scouting network, that you have someone in charge who knows the game, not just in England but around Europe. Like, Leicester won the league because they found 2 players in the French second division. Right, Mahrez and Kante were the two of the 3 that really propelled them to a league title.
That's very true. Very true.
The players are out there. I mean, like I don't watch all the European football that I want to, but I watch a fair bit more than probably most. And there are players in Europe that I think are underrated that haven't really been found yet. But what can you do? Like, you have to assume that the people who are doing this for Spurs are maybe seeing things in different players that you haven't seen, and vice versa. But like, it's definitely possible for Spurs to improve their squad, and they don't have to be names that Danny Rose doesn't have to Google to do it. I really believe that. Okay.
Tottenham apparently also showing an interest in another centre-back. You ready for this one?
Go on.
Maxence Lacroix.
That's not so bad. Not so bad. Lacroix.
Oh, I like that. Lacroix.
Maxence Lacroix.
Plays for Wolfsburg right now, and apparently Leipzig are in for him. But I've had an offer rejected. A report says the defender would be a dream player for Fabio Paratici, who wanted to sign him for Juve. So, thoughts on that?
I would love it. I watched the Wolfsburg team a number of times towards the end of last season. I liked their manager, who left and went to Frankfurt. Lacroix is 21. He's 6 foot something. He's built. He's fast. He looks comfortable on the ball. Yeah, like Wolfsburg obviously had a good season last year by qualifying for the Champions League, so maybe he wasn't put under pressure that much because Wolfsburg were a good side. But to come from the French second division, join a Bundesliga club, and just 12 months later, if Leipzig are after him, that's a good sign, right? Like you talk about West Ham and strikers, Leipzig and anyone, if they're after them, they have to be pretty good. So I would. It's odd because if Lacroix came in, then where does Tomiyasu fit in? Are they both new? Does Tomiyasu move to right back, or whatever we choose to do?
Let's be honest, HG. I could happily sell most of our defence and not lose any sleep over it at all. So,
and to be fair, like I've said that myself. Like I'm like Joe Rodon and me. I haven't fallen in love with him yet. So there are plenty of people that could easily go. And if we do go 3 at the back, then yeah, maybe we should spend a lot of money. But to me, Lacroix, if Spurs are going to spend a lot of money on someone, whether it's 35 million that they'll have to pay to get Lacroix, then I could see that. 50 plus for Kounde, I don't see. I think 30 might be the top end of our budget for a player this year. And if it is going to be a centre-back with pedigree who's young and can grow with the club, then great. I mean, that's what you want. We are building.
I'm not laughing at you, by the way, HG. I'm sorry. I've got something funny's just happened. I've got to tell you.
All right. I wasn't even looking at you, but there you go.
I don't normally interrupt, but an England flag has just literally.
I think it's a lot of money happening.
Oh. What is happening? What's happened to you, HG? Are you there? Austria calling. Austria, come in.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm here now, but I don't know what happened.
Well, my England flag literally just unceremoniously slipped down the wall and fell off. It's been there the whole tournament. So clearly it knew its time was done. So you would be very happy with him, HG. Very happy. Oh, we've inverted again.
I know. I thought I'd do it. Like it was freaking me out too, if I'm honest. So I switched it over.
I feel better already.
It just feels right. Like like Morecambe and Wise, Hale and Pace, and all those other 80s, 90s comedians. Because I can't think of anyone. I can't think of anyone younger. Hey, I met Hale and Pace. They were both drunk at the time, and they were
that's a shock.
They were not people that you'd really want to hang out with. No. But yeah, it looked better this way. You are better on my right, so to speak.
Thank you. Better together as ever.
My right.
Apparently, playing back to your previous point, Tottenham and Liverpool are in a battle to sign Mikkel Damsgaard. Now, I know a bit about this guy, and obviously, Damsgaard was a big star for Denmark during the Euros. Apparently, 34 million quid gets the Sampdoria winger. What are you saying, HG? Did he impress you during the Euros? Oh, HG. Going on. It's like he's frozen in time. Oh, well. While he's sorting himself out, I'm just going to go through a few comments. It's the quietest I've ever known HG. He's like stuck on my screen. It's quite amusing, actually. Ali Gold reporting a deal for Tottenham's training kit sponsor is being tied up. Liverpool about to make 20 million a year from theirs, which is possibly true, possibly not. Phil Ambrose says, "Why do I get the feeling we'll get cinch written in big words on the training top? Caller was wise to buy that training top before that was announced." I tell you what, if that does happen, does that make this a limited edition? That'd be amazing, wouldn't it? If I've got, I think I've got a training top every year for the last 3 years. I don't do much training in them, but there you go. AJ says we definitely need to lower our expectations for a while. Feels like we need a reboot. AJ, I think we should be shooting for the Champions League still, if I'm being really honest. I think you've got to have the ambition. Surely that's why we brought Nuno in. He nearly got Wolves to the Champions League. He nearly did it. Imagine what he can do with a big club like Tottenham. I'm sure it is absolutely possible. Phil says, Damsgaard, this year's Kalboborski. We signed him. Wasn't Kalboborski the guy with like really long hair down to his arse, but he was playing for Czech Republic back in was it Euro 96 or 2000? I can't quite remember, but he was a good player. And Marco says that's a bargain for Damsgaard. Well, Yes, it absolutely would be. If he is actually available at that price, which I think is very much supposition. I'm just going to see what else we've got. Simon says Son's contract don't have a pen at Hotspur Way. I don't really know what's taking so long on this. We've previously discussed this on the show several times, and I think HG would absolutely say, and I hope I'm not misquoting him, that it's in Son's interest to let the contract run down for at least another season. He's got more choice and he's going to have more leverage, and we'll see where we go from there. But Son is obviously would have no problem walking into any team in the Premier League, absolutely, and certainly not the big boys either, Bayern, Juve, etc. I'm sure they'll all be after him. It does appear that Son is going to sign that contract, though, from everything I've heard. So I guess we wait and see with it. Nick says apparently Chelsea will look to sell one of two of Ziyech, Abraham, Hudson-Odoi. No, they wouldn't sell those to us. Hypothetically, would you take any of the three? For me, absolutely, I would take Ziyech. I think Ziyech, obviously, we know him very well from the goal he scored against us in the Champions League semi-final playing for Ajax. I think Ziyech really impresses as a sort of player who he's a bit gangly. He's got the killer pass and he's not scared of taking a shot. And I just think he hasn't had the rub of the green at Chelsea, if I'm really honest. I think he's been really unlucky, not able to really break into that side and get a clean run of games. So I'd be surprised if they give up on him after 1 year, if I'm being really honest. As for Tammy Abraham, I think he would be super, super unlucky to go. The kid's done amazingly, really. He's only been there in the first team for sort of 2 years, hasn't he, Abraham? In the first, sort of his breakthrough under Lampard, really. And he's played for England. Let's not forget that. The guy is quite clearly quite talented. He just needs maybe a bit of a run of games. And Hudson-Odoi, I don't really rate him. So to answer your question, Nick, I would take either of those two, Ziyech or Tammy Abraham. But I guess you're right, and it's highly unlikely that Chelsea will join us. I think HG's just messaged me. He's got a problem with his Wi-Fi. Oh dear. Renato Sanches. I was going to come on to this rumour. So Renato Sanches, 30 million apparently for the Lille midfielder. Now, if this was a deal that was doable, I would absolutely snap your hand off. The guy is absolute mustard. I can't believe that he's not with a big team, really, than Lille. And Lille have got financial troubles, so it's quite likely that we may see him moving. Do I think we'll pay 30 million for him? Well, we've got to shift Harry Winks and Sissoko. The $24 million question is, who's going to sign Harry Winks and Sissoko for good money? I mean, if you believe the press, and this is one that I was going to throw out to you guys, if it's possible to believe Man United interested in Harry Winks. Oh, just like that, HG's back in the room. We were just talking Renato Sanches in for Harry Winks as a swap. What do you think? HG, are you there?
Yes, I am here. Look, Renato Sanches is a great player. He has a really good birthday. He's one of those players that did really well in Portuguese league. Did really well at Euro 2016. Went off the boil for 3 years at Bayern. Had a loan at Swansea. Went to French football and has kind of found his mojo again. Didn't play that often for Lille, it should be said. But again, he looked the business at the Euros. So, Sanchez is a great player. And if Winks isn't seen as a long-term option and we can sell him for maybe a bit of money because he's homegrown and all the rest of it, then okay. But it's like Pjanic for me. Like Renato Sanches comes in if someone else is leaving or if we've decided Lo Celso is going to play further up the pitch and we need someone in midfield who can do a bit of everything, because I think Sanchez can. But I don't think he's high on our list, if I'm honest. As much as he's a good player, I think there are, we're looking at centre backs, we're looking at strikers, we're looking at wingers more than we are someone to play in midfield. I just think that's priority wise, it's going to be low down the list.
Okay. Elsewhere, so other bits of Tottenham news, and then we're going to go to the comments because we're going 50 minutes. I'm conscious that don't ever leave me on my own again, HG. I was scared for a minute.
They clearly are happy to see me back. Thank you, AJ Post. I'm assuming this is what he's referring to. He's happy that I'm back, but it's Austrian Wi-Fi. It's usually pretty good. I don't really know what happened. I think my router just started to reset itself, so I had to wait for everything to happen. But live TV,
I've got to say, I filled adequately.
Well, I trust you. Look, there was a comment at the beginning of the show, right? And I don't know if you saw it, but I certainly did, right? Let me go see if I can scroll back. It was from here. Look at this. This is not a friend of Caller. This is actually someone who watches the show. And look, I agree with Mike and his channel. Presenting isn't easy. I tried it once, never again.
You're being far too nice. Mike's obviously my pseudonym, and yeah, wrote that myself. So elsewhere, Doherty has given an interview to Tottenham Online, the Tottenham Hotspur website, I should say, describing Nuno as a world-class coach. So there you go, HG. So we have got a world-class coach at the helm. People keep dissing Nuno. Is he going to surprise people, do you think? Because I'm really sick of hearing he's not at the level of Pochettino, he's not at the level of Conte. Ultimately, yeah. I think I hope he rams those words down people's throat this season, to be honest.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, look, I agree. Nuno is as good as Pochettino was when Pochettino joined. He may even be better considering what he'd done with Wolves. Yeah, I again. If you gave me the choice between Nuno and Conte, I would have picked Conte. Absolutely. I think the stuff about Conte being, toxic or poison is overblown because he isn't that with players, and that's what we saw with Mourinho. But Nuno is not a bad choice. We haven't. This isn't sloppy seconds at all. This is pretty good seconds. This is, I don't like it either. But yeah. So look, I'm happy. What I would say when Doherty comes out and says he's a world-class coach, who is Doherty comparing this to? Who has he spent time with? We're talking about Martin O'Neill for Ireland.
Ireland managers, yeah. Name a few.
Yeah, and who was at Wolves beforehand? Ståle Solbakken and Mick McCarthy. I mean, he was at Wolves for a long time. So anyone in the last 10 years, yeah, there you go. So, but the thing is, if you compare it to Mourinho, which you easily could, then it's not a bad deal. But Nuno's done more than enough in his career for Spurs fans to be positive about this appointment. There's no reason to be negative. We just have to hope, as we do with all managers, that things work out quickly. But Nuno is not a bad choice. Far from it.
Okay. And elsewhere, and it's just coincidentally, Simon Cohen, the press officer, has left Spurs. So that is actually the press officer. Sorry, is the head of communications. Actually, his name is Simon Felstein, and he's left the club. He's been at the club for 15 years, which that might not be a bad thing given how bad the communications are from the club sometimes. But apparently, he was well liked and respected at Tottenham Hotspur. But yeah, so a change is afoot all across the board, isn't it, HG?
Yeah, and I can only assume that maybe Mr. Felstein has had a better offer or just a different offer to do something different somewhere else. 15 years in any job is a long time. For us to work at Spurs might be all of our dreams, really, no matter what the job is. But I think Mr. Felstein was a pretty young guy. So if he's been there 15 years, he must have got the job pretty young, late 20s. Yeah, T-boy, quite. But so I don't know, but I do feel that change is not necessarily a bad thing, right? We're changing lots of things at Spurs. The stadium is still new, right? We've only played one full season there, 2. I mean, yeah. I mean, this is it. With fans, not even. Right, not even one full season with fans. So lots of things can improve, and we're in a position to do it. So Good luck to you, Mr. Felstein. But the one chance I had to chat with him when I wangled my way into the press conference for the Linz game, seemed like a nice guy. But yeah, you have to think that it seems very much like Paul Mitchell, kind of, that, you know, he's working for Spurs but not working for Spurs, and he's going to go somewhere else. I guess the question is where, and then we'll find out what the issue is.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's my run sheet done, HG. Is there anything else you want to discuss while we're here? Any questions you've got, bang them in now, and we will get to them.
I don't know which comments you went through earlier, but
quite a few.
Yeah, good. I think that. Oh yeah, did you talk about Son and his contract?
We talked about Sonny's contract, and I said I don't want to misrepresent what HG is going to say, but I think if he was here, he would say that it benefits Son not to sign one right now and expect it to go a bit longer before he makes his mind up about what he wants to do.
Yeah, it's true. Like, you know, Son and Spurs, they work really well together, but you know, a year from now, Bayern Munich could be after him. Like, I completely believe that that's the type of link that could happen. And like, to be fair, I could see Kane going to Bayern Munich as well. So like, if Munich were able to get both of them, then they win, and I think it's a win for both players. It's like Spurs might have agreed all manner of things, but until Son signs it, doesn't matter. And I think, yeah, if I'm Son's agent, that's exactly what I'd be telling him. Just wait a year and see what options you have next year.
Yeah, absolutely. We haven't really talked in any great depth the stadium rights. We talked about the Cinch sponsoring the training kit. Someone thought Phil thought Cinch was going to sponsor the training kit, and therefore I was wise to buy one, you know, prior to having the branding on.
Here's a comment, right? Here's a comment. Elena, you are quite correct. I don't think it was the 96 shirt. I definitely had. It was around that time. I had the purple and blue stripes, like that Rule Fox wore when we did that celebration where you rub the legs from was it Shooting Stars? I had that kit. The last one I bought last year's third kit, the baby blue thing. But you're right, it doesn't happen. Yeah. It doesn't happen often, because usually I don't like them, to be honest. And they're a lot of money, and I'd rather wear the essential branded T-shirt that Spurs sell for like 15 quid or whatever. Yeah. But I'm not a Spurs shirt person, not really. And
what do you think of this year's offering, HG? Plain, isn't it? Plain white.
Home kits. Like I am one of those sad people that doesn't do red. I don't want a home shirt because it's got red on it, and that is pretty sad. But I'm much more likely to spend 40 quid on a retro shirt than I am. What is it? 70 quid on a shirt now? No thanks. Yeah. Maybe the away. Like I regret not buying a couple. I know the away shirt from 17-18, I think, that was like just very simple blue with the shield around the badge.
Yeah, I like that. That was nice.
Yeah.
I got that one.
I regret not getting that. The green one. There's a chance I might get the green one from last year, but
it is. It's on the wall there. It's that middle one.
Okay, there you go. Like I do like kits, but I'm very much like at the end of the season when it's in the sale type of person. Rarely. I mean, the baby blue one I actually got full price, but it was a Christmas present. So, you know, it's the type of thing I ask my mother-in-law for when she says, "What do you want?" And you know, I don't want anything. I'm in my 40s. I don't really care. So so I got that one year. But shirts and me, not so much.
Nick says, has anyone mentioned caller seemingly saying Tomiyasu? Tomiyasu, mate, g'day. No, pop another shrimp on the barbie. And if Aaron Jolly's watching, hello, Aaron. My impressions do not get any better of you, my friend. Simon says, predictions for next season. I'm presuming you mean about Spurs, but let me ask you a couple of wider-ranging football questions, HG. Who do you think is going to win the league next season? Or better still, predict me your top four.
Oh, come on now. Top four is probably easier because you're looking at Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea +1, right? Like I think that not just squad-wise, now Chelsea have a decent manager. They will be clearly up there. When it comes to the league, like I say this every year, like Man City's focus will be the Champions League. They'll care about the league, but when it gets to it, they want to win the Champions League. They haven't done it. They still haven't done it. So there's an opportunity possibly for someone, but Chelsea won the Champions League. They'll be wanting to repeat it. All three of those sides will have Champions League football. I hope that we'll have a proper title race again. It feels like a long time since we did.
Yeah.
But yeah, those three, plus Spurs, because I want to think that we're better than Man United. I like Man United with Sancho will have a formidable first 11. Even with Ollie at the wheel, that 11 could do some real damage. So it's all about consistency.
What I've always said with Man United is, as long as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is in charge, they're not going to win anything. And so far, I've not been proven wrong. So let's hope that carries through. I'm going to maintain the same prediction. I'm going to go out on a whim and say Chelsea are going to win the league next season. As much as though that pains me, because they are my least favourite club rival of Tottenham. I know yours is West Ham, mine's Chelsea. I hate them with a passion, but I genuinely do think they've got the players and the manager to do it, and I think they'll invest a bit more. I think they'll be very active in this transfer window with comings and goings, and they probably scare me more than anyone in terms of who to watch out for. City, we know they're going to be up there, first or second. I think United will be held back by Ollie. I think Arsenal, I'm over the moon with Arsenal. They're being, in case anyone hasn't heard, they're being followed by the all or nothing cameras this season. Well, spoiler alert, it's going to be nothing. But you might get a sacking mid-season like we did when we did it.
They'll probably start with the sacking like they did with Spurs. It'll be like Arteta leaves and Mourinho comes in. It's like I would love to see that documentary again at Spurs. I quite like the idea of cameras following Spurs, even if it's not Amazon. That we do that for ourselves. I enjoyed the documentary. I mean, not just because we were in it.
Stadium looked very different when I went to tour it on Friday. And by the way, shout out! I introduced some of the guides that was situated around the stadium to the Cheese Room podcast, and signed them up as subscribers. So if you are watching, do drop a comment in there, and thank you very much for your helpfulness and insight in that tour on Friday. It was really good. We all really enjoyed it, and we'll be back again. But what was interesting was, obviously, last time I went, they had all the cameras up and all the equipment everywhere for the Amazon documentary. So it looked a lot less cluttered in the change room this time out. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, I think Spurs will be in the mix for 4th, 5th. That's where I think we'll be, in the mix for 4th, 5th.
If we look, honestly, if we find a way of playing that works for us, I do believe we've got at least 3/4 of a very good team. If Nuno can come in and sort out the defense, whether that means new players or whatever, then I guess I am optimistic. But I don't. I'm just happy that Mourinho's gone. If I'm honest, no. But the thing is, we finished 7th. We weren't that far off top 4. I mean, 4 or 5 points. I genuinely feel that possibly had we sacked Mourinho a couple of months earlier, we may have made the top 4. Just in saying, had we sacked him, 6 weeks later, we might have won the League Cup. There are lots of ifs and buts about last season, but no Mourinho to me is positive. So I have to be more optimistic than 7th. I don't want to consider anything else.
Rainer says, how serious will Spurs or Nuno take the Conference League, trying to win it or not minding getting it out of it quickly? My view, money is money. I was interested to see the prize money for this. So it's actually not that far off the Europa League if you win it. So I think the Europa League gives you about, 35 million quid, 40 million quid if you go to the final and win it. And this is about 30 million quid. Or 10 million squids. What's that? It's like half an Eric Lamela, not even that. So, it's not that much difference, is it? At the end of the day. So, money's money. 30 million quid would be much welcome in a COVID climate, wouldn't it?
Yeah, all money, as you said, all money is useful. I think Nuno will take it seriously once it gets to maybe the quarters, if we got that far. I don't think anyone's going to care that much. Because the thing is, if you do well in the cup competitions, suddenly, a last 16 tie in Belgium or wherever it would be, might seem not as important. But it's all about you have to get a trophy somehow, right? Spurs want to become that kind of side that can get to the big games and win them. And although the Conference League final might be against someone like Roma, right? It might be against a big team that's kind of had a bad year last season.
Yeah.
It's still worth winning. Like, if we were to play Roma in the final and it was Jose against Spurs, can you imagine if Jose was the person to stop Spurs from winning a title?
Oh, fair.
Yeah, well, I say titles. Title is the German word for trophy, and it confuses me now. They always talk about titel, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's not the title. That's different to a trophy. But yeah, it's. I think we'll take it seriously. Like, a win is a win, and we're going to have a big squad, and those people are going to want games.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you get injuries abound, like, I like seeing Spurs play twice a week. So I want us to take it seriously, if only for that. Midweeks without Spurs have become super boring because it's been a long time that we haven't really had them.
Yeah.
So yeah, Reiner, yeah, we'll take it seriously.
Final thing from me, Milton Keynes. We've got a friendly coming up, haven't we?
Yeah, like 2 weeks. I think.
Well,
you should. It's like almost walking distance for you. So.
Yeah. But it is on a Wednesday night. I've got an important ritual on a Wednesday night, which is workout night. Oh, go on. I don't want to know.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know about your workouts. Like, please, no.
Yeah, I'll do my workout at Milton Keynes ground. It's fine. Do my sort of lunges,
yeah, like up and down the steps, like a bad, like 1980s Hollywood movie. Like you'd be Rocky, and you can give us footage from it. We'd all like to see that.
Yeah, I'm sure I could do a live stream from Milton Keynes football stadium. Actually, last time I went there, it was Dele Alli was the captain in that league. Was it League Cup or FA Cup?
It was League Cup, yeah.
Yeah, and we won on a penalty shootout actually that day. Bizarrely, I couldn't believe it went to a penalty shootout. We were dire for most of that game, absolutely dire. Nicholas says, I'm going to read this one because I think it's important. Love the optimism on these videos and pods. So please do listen to the podcast. Please do like, subscribe, and tell someone about this video if you like it. We're absolutely trying to grow the channel. And Nicholas, your sense of humour is awful. I don't even know who Jane Fonda is. I'm not old enough. What?
But no. To be fair, we don't want to be negative. Like we talked right at the start about how people are being divided left, right, and center, and like everything is quite negative that you read in the papers and see on the media. We don't have to be that way, right? Like I could sit here and moan about Levy. I could sit here about Spurs aren't doing what I want them to do because I want to go in on a Monday morning and tell my mates that my team is the best. But that's not me. I don't care about those things. I want to see Spurs get better. That's it. And there's no what's past is past. Like none of us ever thought that we'd see Spurs finish second in the league. We never thought we'd ever see Spurs get 86 points. We have to be honest about that. That is not normal. But it happened. And so because it happened, it makes everything else seem a bit more believable. Right, like if Leicester can win the league, so can Spurs. Is it likely? No, but does it feel more possible because of what's happened in the last 5-6 years? Absolutely, absolutely.
If you think about it, and I was saying this to one of the rival, not rival, we're not rivals, we're all friends, but one of the other broadcasters on YouTube, and I was sort of saying, we actually have it really good. I know people can't see it and they want to win things, and I want to win things, and it's not a lack of ambition. But I've seen Tottenham be terrible, like fighting relegation, winning nothing, really average players playing terrible football. And I just think, even with England, we've been to a semi-final and a final. There's a lot of comparisons there, isn't there? It's better to be optimistic and half cup full than half cup empty, because you're not going to help your own mental state by moaning all the time, are you? Let's face facts. And I actually think, my football upbringing, watching Telford United with my dad on a rainy night, with a Bovril if I was lucky. I consider every trip to the stadium special, and every time I get to go watch, live elite level football. Level, and I think I consider myself really happy and privileged to be able to do that, and I think we should just appreciate it a little bit more and moan a little bit less, because let's face it, across the season we are going to do lots of moaning when we see those match day performances. Yeah,
and like football is the escape, right? Going to football. It's in a week tomorrow. The local team, Rapid Vienna, have their Champions League qualification, their first game. They're playing Sparta Prague. Obviously, Prague's not that far away. It's a pretty big game, and it's just a week away. And like, I want to go. Like, I want to go and watch the game because it's football. Football is the escape. Like, watching Spurs win is the cherry on top, but it's not the expectation for me. And you're right. Like, I do think a lot of it is generational, because there are people who are in their early 20s that have only ever really known a successful Spurs, a Spurs that finished top 6. I was a season ticket holder for 4 years, and in one of those years, I think we finished 16th. And we went to Oldham, like second last game of the season, to survive. Like, we secured our survival then. Like, that's not the Spurs I remember, but I know it existed. And if you know it exists, you can't help but be less upset with the fact that we only finished 7th. That's not where I want to finish, and I'm not okay with finishing 7th, because I know we can do better. But I'm also not going to bitch about it. Like, you just move on, and you know, next season's another season, tomorrow's another day, and we will be better. I firmly believe we'll be better next season, just because that toxic bastard has gone.
And on that bombshell, HG, thanks very much for joining me this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll be back at the weekend to discuss any goings on between now and then. Hopefully there'll be some transfer activity, some more rumours for you to scythe through and, you know, dissect in your ever so holistic approach. Hey, HG, thanks very much for joining me.
No problem. I enjoyed it. Thanks for listening, guys, or watching. Thanks for watching. It's always good and humbling that you do watch. So yeah, like, if we're optimistic and you like that, tell your friends, because the pessimism, no, we don't need it. Like, let's be optimistic. Let's be hopeful, because like, it's Spurs. We're always hopeful. It kills you every year, but we're always hopeful.
Until then, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.